To understand what went wrong, we have to look at what was supposed to go right. The test scheduled for reactor number 4 on April 25, 1986 was designed to solve a dangerous safety gap. If the external power grid ever failed, the station's emergency diesel generators would take about 50 seconds to start up. In a high-power nuclear reactor, 50 seconds without cooling water can easily lead to a core meltdown. Plant designers wanted to prove that the spinning, kinetic momentum of a coasting turbine generator could bridge this window, generating enough electricity to keep the vital water pumps running until backup power came online. Since the reactor was already scheduled for a routine maintenance shutdown, managers decided to run this experiment during the power descent, but unexpected grid demands delayed the test for 9 hours, pushing the execution deep into the night. At 11:10 p.m., the day shift handed operations over to the night crew, led by Supervisor Alexander Akimov and Deputy Chief Engineer Anatoly Dyatlov. This incoming team was expected to execute a highly specialized safety test, yet they had never received formal written instructions or proper training for this scenario. Instead, they had to rely on a draft procedure, stepping into a complex operation with a plan that was still being written as they went. At 1:06 a.m. on April 25th, operators began lowering the reactor's thermal output from its normal 3,200 megawatts down to 1,600 megawatts. They were preparing for the shutdown test. But at 1:05 p.m., the Kiev grid dispatcher intervened. Another regional power station had unexpectedly tripped, and the grid needed Chernobyl's electricity. Reactor 4 was forced to remain at half power, holding at 1,600 megawatts for the next 9 hours. This administrative delay did more than just push the test into the dead of night. It triggered an invisible chemical trap deep inside the core. Under normal high-power operation, a highly potent neutron-absorbing isotope called xenon-135 is constantly produced as a byproduct of fission, but it is quickly burned away by the intense neutron flux. Running at half power for 9 hours disrupted this balance, allowing a massive reservoir of xenon-135 to build up in the fuel. When the grid dispatcher finally cleared the plant to resume the power reduction at 11:10 p.m., the incoming crew aimed to stabilize the reactor at 1,000 megawatts. But as they lowered the power, the neutron flux dropped even further. The accumulated xenon could no longer transmute into stable xenon-136. Instead, this nuclear poison acted like a wet blanket over a fire, aggressively choking off the chain reaction. The reactor's output began to slip away from the operators. At 12:28 a.m. on April 26th, the thermal power collapsed entirely, cratering to just 30 megawatts. The power collapse to 30 megawatts should have ended the test. Under standard safety regulations, a drop of this magnitude required a complete shutdown of the reactor. But the pressure on the night shift was intense. Aborting the test meant delaying a highly anticipated safety demonstration, disrupting schedules, and answering to demanding managers who expected results. Instead of shutting down, the operators made the choice to restore power. Shift supervisor Alexander Akimov and operator Leonid Toptanov began manually withdrawing the boron carbide control rods from the core, pulling them out to allow the fission reaction to expand. By 1 a.m., they managed to stabilize the thermal output at roughly 200 megawatts. But the cost of this recovery was extreme. To keep the reactor running, the crew had withdrawn almost all of the control rods, leaving only 6 to 8 active inside the core. The plant's strict safety guidelines required a minimum operating reactivity margin of at least 15 effective rods to maintain control at all times. By continuing, the crew had pushed the reactor into a forbidden low-power range, operating far below the safe limit of 700 megawatts.